The special favor of Allah, Awliya Allah. The universe is the body and its soul, Awliya Allah.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. MashaAllah, viewers of Madani Channel, welcome to Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow. And in this series of programs, we delve in to the rich heritage that the Muslims have. Yes, we do have a rich heritage. And I think that's the first problem, and I keep on saying this, that unfortunately many of us do not realize the rich heritage that we have, the pious predecessors that we have, the role models we have, the lessons that we can learn from the past. And that is the aim of this program, that we take something from yesterday, we apply it today so that we can have a better tomorrow. And without a doubt, we have many, many role models in our past, the pious predecessors, the companions of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and ultimately the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So today, inshallah, we're going to learn a little bit more from the life of one of our great pious predecessors and try and get some lessons from their life. And one thing I've mentioned before, and I want to mention again, is that, you know, sometimes an event that's taken place 400 years, 800 years, 1,000 years, 1,400 years ago, it's recorded. The event is maintained and it's passed down through generation to generation. Why? And that's the point that I keep on making, that these events that took place, when they're passed down from generation to generation, they pass down so that we can learn something from it. They're not passed down so it's always a nice story, sounds good at the time, very good, I'll read it to my kids tonight until they go to sleep. No, they are passed down from generation to generation so that we can learn a lesson from it. And inshallah today, the parables that we're going to mention to you, hopefully we can learn something as well. But before we begin, as you know, at the beginning of every program, in the majority of the programs on Madani Channel and all the programs that I host, we always give you a blessing of reciting Durood Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the reason for this is that the intention behind this is that you become aware of the blessings. As a result of that, you become habitual in reciting Durood Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only that, by remembering that blessing, hopefully you pass that blessing on to others so that other people can become habitual as well. And the blessing that we have today is that the final Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reported to have said that whoever sends salat upon me once, Allah Azza wa Jal will shower 10 mercies upon him. So please take out time from your busy schedule and recite Durood Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, as maybe some of you are aware, that during that blessed month of Rabiul Akhir, we get to learn about the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah ta'ala. What a great personality, one of our great pious predecessors. And we can learn many, many lessons from his life. And in his life, he became well known. Many, many people would travel long distances to just sit and listen to him, learn from him. And he narrated an event. And this event, maybe you've heard this event again before, but I'm going to narrate it again. He narrated an event in the time of his childhood. And he said, when I was young, and we went to a field. And in the field, one cow that I was chasing stopped and turned his head to me and said, "Oh, Abdul Qadir, you were not created for this." You know, and he said, obviously an animal speaking to him, he was shocked. And it scared him. And he ran home and he went to the roof of his house. And it was a coincidence that it was the day of Arafat. From Jilan, he could see the Muslims worshipping on the plains of Arafat. So this was like a second miracle that happened in quick succession. So then he came down to the comfort of his mother. And he decided to travel to Baghdad. He was only a young man at the time. I mean, I'm not sure of his age, but maybe in his mid-teens, or maybe late teens. And his mother, what did she do? She sewed 40 gold coins into his jacket, into the seams of the jacket. And he set off on the journey to Baghdad. Now, at that time, there wasn't the trains or the planes or the buses or the coaches. They would travel together in a caravan. A lot of people would travel together. And why they would travel together? Because there's safety in numbers. But unfortunately, on this particular caravan that was traveling to Baghdad, they were attacked by robbers. And these robbers, they started to loot everybody's things. But the incident that I wanted to mention, and I'm sorry I forgot this, was that when Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani left his home, his mother said to him one thing, that my son, you are leaving, and maybe we will never meet until the day of judgment. But my son, remember this. Whatever happens in your life, no matter what happens in your life, always speak the truth. Always speak the truth. And what happened was when these robbers attacked him, or attacked the caravan rather, and they searched him for money and they couldn't find it because it was sewn into the seams. And they asked him, have you got any money? And he said, yes, I've got 40 gold coins. He wasn't lying. And because they couldn't find it, they actually got annoyed with him. And they took him to the chief of the robbers. And they said that this young man is saying he's got 40 gold coins. We can't find it. So the chief of the robbers said, what is this? And he said, I have 40 gold coins. He said, are you speaking the truth? He said, yes, I am. He said, prove it. So he unpicked and pulled out the 40 gold coins. Now the chief of the robbers, he was shocked. He was shocked at this because if he'd have remained silent, if he had lied, they wouldn't have found it. So they asked him, why? Why did you not just lie? Surely you need that money. We couldn't find it, so you should have just lied. And he said, I made a promise to my mother that no matter what happens, I will never lie. And you know, the history books record that them words of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani had a profound effect on the hearts of all of the robbers. And they said that you are not breaking the promise that you made to your mother, yet we are breaking the laws of God every single day, the laws of Allah every single day. And what happened is, they all repented. They all repented from the heirs, and they returned all of the stolen goods. And they said that every one of them became willies of their time. Now, what do we learn from this? We learn so much. One of the first things that we learn from this is the tarbiyat of the mother. The upbringing that that mother had given, that she taught that child never ever to lie. And you're probably thinking, well, yes, so what? We tell our children don't lie. We tell our children to speak the truth, but do we? In fact, in many cases, we teach the opposite. We teach our children to lie. And you're going to say, no, come on. We don't teach our children to lie. Nobody's going to teach their children to lie. You don't directly teach your children to lie, but you lie in front of your children. Someone will ring. Yeah, and you sat at home. You sat at home with your family. Someone will, yeah, I'm at work. Yeah, I won't be finished till 9 o'clock. Yeah, sorry, I can't see you today. I'll try and see you tomorrow. What have you done here? You've lied in front of your children. How many times have I seen it that parents say to the children, when someone knocks on the door, tell them I'm not in. Tell them I'm not in. And the child will go to the door, and sometimes the child will say, my dad told me to tell you he's not in. It isn't children. But we are teaching our children to lie. And then, if you go one step further, imagine the scenario, and I mentioned this before on Madani Channel, that, the children in a room, there's a vase there, there's other things there, and the children are playing, and they break a vase, or they break something, or they knock something over. And the father goes into the room, or the mother goes into the room, and says, who's done this, who's broke that pot, and she's angry and everything. Now the child's scared. The child's scared because he knows if he admits to breaking the vase or knocking over something, he's going to be in big trouble. No, I didn't do it. He did it. It wasn't me. So they try and blame somebody else. And what happens is, inevitably, the mother is so busy. She's got so many chores to do. She's got so many things on her mind. She hasn't got time to resolve the situation. Or similar to the father, he's busy with his work. He hasn't got time to investigate or resolve the situation. So one of two things happen. Either, he'll shout to all of them, right? and basically say to them that, make sure it doesn't happen again, don't be stupid, and stop playing it and get out of the house. Or there'll be a collective punishment. Okay, for that, you're all got to go up to your room and stay in your room. Yeah? So what happens here is, that child that broke that vase has learned something. He's learned that, look, if I lie, one of two things is going to happen. Either we're going to get away with it, or the punishment is going to get shared. So, lying is good. And who taught him that? You did. Let's flip it and say that now the father goes in, the mother goes in, realizes something's gone wrong, the children are scared of saying anything. You say to the children, look, one of you's done it. One of you must have done it. Speak the truth, be honest. And don't worry, you won't get into serious trouble, but make sure you speak the truth. And a child plucks up the courage and says, Dad, Mum, it was me. Now, at that moment in time, oh, it was you. I knew it'd be you. No, we shouldn't be doing that. At that moment, if that child plucks up the courage to tell you he's done something wrong, then call that child to you and say, my son, my daughter, please be careful in future, and you shouldn't be playing here. That's very expensive. Explain it to them. But then say to the child, but you know what, son? You know what, daughter? I'm very, very proud of you today. Do you know why? Because you spoke the truth. And you've made me happy today that you spoke the truth. And reward the child. I'm a bit busy now, son. I'm a bit busy. Afterwards, what pizza do you want? What bird do you want? I'll go and get it you. Now what have you taught that child? You taught that child a lesson that speaking the truth is good. Speaking the truth is beneficial, and we need to give that lesson to our children. And unfortunately what happens, and that's just one example of the upbringing of our children, what we teach the children, what we don't teach the children. And it's something that we need to think about. I've said before on Madani Channel that if a Muslim child speaks Urdu, for example, why is that? 99 times out of 100, probably 999,000 times out of a million, it's because his parents speak Urdu. Similar with Gujarati, similar with Chinese, it's because the parents speak Chinese. If a child speaks English, it's because the parents speak English. If a child speaks French, it's because the parents speak French. German, because the parents speak French. My question to you is, if your children swear, why? Because the parents swear. The parents are basically the image for your children. You create that image for your children. And that age is where, that tender age, they say, is that time where their character is written in stone. Some people have said that, children are like pieces of paper, whatever you write on it, that will stay with them. That habit of lying, that habit of swearing, that habit of all of these foul habits, they will be ingrained in the children at a young age. And what happens is that young age, we think, oh, they're young. They're only small. It doesn't matter. It's okay. They're only small kids at the moment. But do you not realize that in this country, in the UK, again, something I mentioned before, that when a child is born, from that age until the age of 12, is constantly being given injections, vaccinations. A child is born within hours, it's given a vitamin K injection, then 3 months, then 6 months, then 9 months, then 12 months, then 3 years, then 6 years, then 9 years, then 12 years, polio, MMR, all of these different types of vaccinations. Why? Why are all these vaccinations given to these children at a young age? So that when they grow up, when they go out into the society, when the diseases are out there, them diseases don't affect them. Why? Because they've been vaccinated. But what moral vaccinations do we give to our children? Do we vaccinate them against the sin of lying? Do we vaccinate them against the sin of swearing? Do we vaccinate them against all of the sins of society? If we can vaccinate them against certain things, then we can vaccinate them against other things. And you can say, well, it's very hard. Yes, it is hard. I'm not denying it. I know bringing up your children day by day is getting harder, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible, and I can say safely that I have met many, many people. I have met people that have admitted to, or I'm aware of, that they commit all sorts of sins. But one sin, I have not met anybody commit that sin, and that is the sin of eating bacon. Why? Why is it that I've never met anybody that eats bacon? Why? Because at a young age, that child has been taught that this is a dirty thing. That child's been taught not to eat that. In fact, that child won't even say the word, he'll say P-I-G. That child, when he sees a shop that sells it, he'll go to the other side of the road because the smell, he doesn't like it. You taught him that. You taught him that. Madani Channel didn't teach them, you taught him that. So if you can teach them that, you can teach them these other things. If you can teach them to hate something, hate one thing, you can teach them to hate many things. If you can teach them to hate something, you can teach them to love something. If you can teach them to hate bacon, you can teach them to love salah, to love fasting. You can teach them all these things, but it's up to us. And it's up to us. And we learn from the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah that he said that my success is based on the fact that my mother told me never, ever, ever to speak a lie. And that's something that we need to ponder on. What tarbiyat, what training, what upbringing are we giving to our children? We're going to take a small break now, inshallah. We've got one of the first packages, inshallah. We'll go to the first package of the day. When we come back, we'll continue with this topic. And meanwhile, I can have my cup of tea. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A person is known through their character, their akhlaq, their mannerism, the way in which they speak to people, they behave with people as well. And we as Muslims, in fact, humanity has the ideal role model in the life of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, also with regards to refining one's character and akhlaq. Sayyiduna Hisham bin Sa'ad radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he states that I asked the mother of the believers, Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqah radiyallahu ta'ala anha, that, O mother of the believers, tell me about the akhlaq, the character of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. She replied, do you not recite the Holy Quran? I responded, yes, I do. She said, the Quran is actually the khuluq, the character of the beloved Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Sayyidina Shaykh Allama Ismail Haqqi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, the author of the famous Quranic commentary called Ruhul Bayan, he beautifully mentions the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with these words. He says, the character of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was the epitome of all noble characteristics. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him the gratitude of Sayyiduna Nuh alayhi salam, the intimate friendship of Sayyiduna Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, the sincerity of Sayyiduna Nabi Musa alayhi salam, the veracity of the promise of Sayyiduna Ismail alayhi salam, the patience of Nabi Yaqub alayhi salam and Ayyub alayhi salam, the prayer of Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, the humility of Sulaiman alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam, and the qualities of all the prophets alayhim salatu wassalam. This is the station which has been granted to only the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching yesterday, today and tomorrow. And in this series of programs, we delve into the rich heritage of Islam, look at our pious predecessors and learn something from their lives so that we can learn something from yesterday, make a change today so that we can have a better tomorrow. And today, we're talking about some of the lessons that we can learn from the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah ta'ala. Another thing that happened in that story that I mentioned before the break was that when the robbers spoke to Ghaus Pak, and Ghaus Pak then said to them that my mother told me never ever to speak a lie, it had a profound effect on their hearts. And as a result of that, they changed their ways, they repented. Now if you think about that if a person is a robber, I meet a robber on the street and I say to him, you shouldn't be doing this. He's going to say, who are you? Yeah. If I meet someone drinking alcohol and I say to him, stop drinking alcohol, he's going to say, what's it got to do with you? Yeah. They're not going to listen to me. They won't listen to me. If I see someone committing any sin and I try and rectify them, in most cases they're going to say, who are you? But when it came to Ghaus Pak, when he spoke, the word that he spoke were no different to the words that me and you may speak. But the fact that he spoke them had an effect on the hearts of these people. So what do we learn from this? We learn that, sitting with pious people, the words that they speak can have a profound effect on your heart. Many of our viewers of Madani Channel will have seen a few years ago on Madani Channel where the Nathwans, they went to see Amir al-Sunnah. And when Amir al-Sunnah rectified them and said to them, you shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be doing that. These are people that were professional Nathwans making money. When Amir al-Sunnah said, you shouldn't be doing it this way, you shouldn't be doing that, they started shedding tears. They started shedding tears. People have gone and met Amir al-Sunnah, and when he said to them, start reading Salah, they started reading Salah. People have come there and they've been committing all sorts of sins. But when he says to them, look, give it up, stop doing this, grow a beard, do this, they do it. Now this is the effect that pious people have. And so we should try and spend our time and meet pious people. Get our children to be aware of the company of pious people. Go and visit these pious people and learn from them, gain from them. In the same way that whenever we talk about the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, we talk about, how all these students were there and all these people were meeting him. And we think about that, how fortunate those people were. Yeah, they were able to sit there and learn from him directly, listen to him directly. Such a great personality that they sat there and learned from him. Allahu Akbar. Would we not wish that we were able to sit in the company of our pious predecessors? Would we not wish that we could sit there and learn from them, gain the blessing from them, learn something from them? Yes, we would. But I say this to you, in 100 years' time, in 200 years' time, people will sit there and they will say, I wish I could sit in front of Amir al-Sunnah and learn from him. Fortunate were those people. Fortunate were those people that were able to do it. That they were able to go to Karachi, to Fazana Medina and sit there. And nowadays, technology is there. That fortunate are those people that every Saturday night when he has the Madani Muzakar, they can sit there and learn from him. People will write about these people in 100 years, in 200 years, that how lucky these people were. And yet we have this in front of us, but we don't take advantage of it. And what happens is, like many things, that when you have a blessing, you take it for granted. You don't realize how valuable it is. And when that blessing is gone, I know of certain scholars that once they passed away and I start to find out about it, I think, you know what? I missed the opportunity. Should have spent time with that scholar. Should have took the blessing from that. Should have learned from that scholar. So we learn from this as well that these people, these pious people, they can guide us, they can teach us, they can help us. So go and sit in their gatherings. And not only the pious people that I'm talking about, but even any of the scholars. If you sit with a scholar of the deen, you sit them with them for half an hour, and within half an hour, you will realize what little you know. You will realize what little knowledge you have. Alhamdulillah, within Dawah Islami, to become a scholar is not a 5-minute thing. Internationally, the value of a scholar maybe has been devalued. You can go to certain places in the world, even here in UK, and you become a scholar, and you study for 2 months, for 3 months, for 6 months. That's devalued it. Within Dawah Islami, to become a scholar, you're having to study 6, 7, 8 years. And 6, 7, 8 years, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 5 hours of lectures every single day. And then the study on circles on top of that. The amount of time you're literally spending 5, maybe 8 to 10 hours a day studying and revising. 5, 6 days a week, 50 to 60 hours a week are spent for 6 years to become a scholar. And surely they have the knowledge. And sitting with them, we learn something from them. So I think we need to sit with the people of knowledge, learn from them, and get the blessings from them. We're going to take a small break now. Inshallah, we've got the kalam of the day. And when we come back, we'll learn something else from the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Let's go to the kalam of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Shah Jila Ghaus Pak, Pire Pira Ghaus Pak, Mire Mira Ghaus Pak, Jano dil se tum pe meri jaan qurban Ghaus Pak, hai salamat tum se mera deen o ایمان غوث پاک ہے پیر پیرا ہے میر میرا محبوب سبحان ولیوں کے سلطان محبوب یزدان سلطان ذیشان مشکل ہو آسان غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک میں تیرا ادنا بھکاری تو میرا سلطان ہے میں تیرا ادنا بھکاری تو میرا سلطان ہے قسم حق کی یہ میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک ہے قسم حق کی یہ میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک آپ کی چشم کرم کا ایک اشارہ ہو اگر آپ کی چشم کرم کا ایک اشارہ ہو اگر دو جگہ کی مشکلیں ہو جائیں آسان غوث پاک دو جگہ کی مشکلیں ہو جائیں آسان غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک ناز قسمت پہ کروں پاؤں جہاں کی سروری ناز قسمت پہ کروں پاؤں جہاں کی سروری تیری چوکھٹ کا اگر بن جاؤں درباں غوث پاک تیری چوکھٹ کا اگر بن جاؤں درباں غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک ہے پیر پیرا ہے میر میرا محبوب سبحان ولیوں کے سلطان محبوب یزدان سلطان ذیشان مشکل ہو آسان غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک میری آنکھیں تیرا گنبد تیری چوکھٹ میرا سر میری آنکھیں تیرا گنبد تیری چوکھٹ میرا سر میرا لاشار ہو تیرا بیاباں غوث
غوث پاک میرا لاشا اور ہو تیرا بیاباں غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک بھیجا تو نے ہی معین الدین چشتی کو یہاں بھیجا تو نے ہی معین الدین چشتی کو یہاں ہند میں تیرے سبب سے ہے مسلمان غوث پاک ہند میں تیرے سبب سے ہے مسلمان غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک کیجئے امداد عزت دو جگہ میں دیجئے کیجئے امداد عزت دو جگہ میں دیجئے ہے جمیل قادری ادنا ثنا خواں غوث پاک ہے جمیل قادری ادنا ثنا خواں غوث پاک جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک 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 جان و دل سے تم پہ میری جان قربان غوث پاک ہے سلامت تم سے میرا دین و ایمان غوث پاک
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah, viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching yesterday, today and tomorrow. And like I said earlier on, this is a program in which we delve into the rich heritage of our Islam, of our pious predecessors, and try and learn something from their life. And today we're learning a little bit about the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah and what we can learn from his life. Early on in the program, I mentioned the fact that he was traveling to Baghdad and the robbers attacked the caravan and they tried to rob everybody that was on the caravan, but they repented of the ways and they allowed them to safely reach Baghdad. Upon reaching Baghdad, that 40 gold coins that he had, he spent it. Obviously, he needed to live, he needed to survive, he needed food, he needed accommodation, all of the other things that me and you would need. But obviously, that doesn't last forever. And that money soon ran out. Now, before I continue and explain to you what happened, if you send your children away to do a degree in a university, in a different city or a different country, and their money runs out, what happens? Okay, maybe they'll try and get the job, but if they can't get a job, then what? If they have no money, one of two things will happen. Option number one, Dad, can you please send me some money? Yeah? Or option number two, you know what, I can't survive here. I'll go home. I'll go home to the comforts. My mum makes me warm food. My clothes are cleaned. I have a nice warm bed. Why should I? And they leave. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah didn't do any of these two things. He stayed there. And it said that he survived on leaves, on things from trees, on grass, on running water. Why? Why did he do that? Why did he not, all right, there wasn't a telephone then. Why did he not just think, you know what, I'll get the next caravan and come back? The reason why he did not return to Jalan, to the comforts of his home, was because he knew about the importance of knowledge. He knew that knowledge was the cure for sick souls. He knew that this knowledge that he was gaining there was important. And he was willing to sacrifice so much to acquire the knowledge of the deen. And if you look at the lives of our pious predecessors, you realize the sacrifices that they made to acquire the knowledge. Nowadays, like on my iPad in front of me, I've got 700-800 books. On here alone, and in that, people have said that's nothing. You can have thousands with the capacity that you got on here. How easy is it to download and acquire knowledge? But we don't acquire it. And yet the people of the past, they would travel. And they would put themselves through hardships to acquire the knowledge of the deen. I remember a couple of months ago reading a booklet of Dawat Islami, and in it mentioned hadith. And I can't actually remember the hadith, but what I do remember is that a person traveled to Egypt. He traveled to Egypt. Why? He must have traveled from a different country. He traveled to Egypt to hear one hadith. And when he got there, the person that knew this hadith, he said to him that I will only teach you this one hadith if you work for me for 1 year. What did he do? He worked for him for 1 year. And after that 1 year, he taught him that hadith. And this is the value of knowledge. And nowadays, we don't value it. Nowadays, it's been devalued. And even when it's devalued, we still don't acquire, because knowledge is so readily available. And it's a good thing that knowledge is readily available. But just because it's readily available doesn't mean to say that it's not valuable. The knowledge that you can gain by watching Madani Channel, it is valuable knowledge. The knowledge that you can gain by joining Madrasatul Madina Baligan is invaluable. The knowledge that you can gain by traveling in the way of Allah and traveling in the Madani Kafilas is invaluable. But how many of us do it? People would go from one country to another country to learn one hadith. We can't go from the comforts of our home to the nearest masjid to listen to a speech on a Thursday night. We can't go from the comforts of our home to another masjid in a different town, and you're not having to, we don't make you walk. We don't say, oh, you have to walk to the other town. No, we'll pick you up, we'll take you in a car, we'll take you to the other town. You spend 3 days there in the house of Allah to acquire the knowledge of the deen. But do we? There were people that when they traveled in the past, they were met with swords. When we travel nowadays and we go to the masjids to travel in the way of Allah, the committee members, the people there, they welcome us. They're trying to drag us, come to my house, or they bring food and they bring all sorts of things. I've been on Madani Kafilas where the amount of food that they bring for breakfast, you could have like 10 kafilas there and they couldn't, but the variety, because people are looking forward to seeing you. They want you to come. They want you to teach them. They want you to come and learn as well. But we don't do it. Because we don't value that deen. We don't put an importance on knowledge of the deen. I was just, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was asked, a person came to him and he said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my end of time is coming. I could pass away at any moment. What should I do at this moment in time? He was that ill, and he realized that his time was up, so to speak. What did the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to him? Acquire the knowledge of the deen. Acquire the knowledge of the deen. And that is something that we don't value. We don't try and take time out. And that is where we are failing, my Islamic brothers and viewers, that we're not improving ourselves. We'll improve ourselves in worldly knowledge. We'll get a level 1, a level 2, then a level 3, then we'll get a diploma, then we'll get a degree, then we'll get a master's degree, then we'll get a PhD. We'll get all of them things. But when it comes to the deen, the knowledge of the deen, the knowledge of reading the Quran, the knowledge of reading your salah, the knowledge of ghusl, of wuzu, of all of these things. Just today I was with the brothers and I was remembering that I traveled on a Madani Kafla to a different country. And beyond the speech that I was giving, like now I was talking that, travel in the way of Allah, going on Madani Kafla, you learn wuzu, you learn ghusl, you learn all these things. And the Imam said, teach them. Right now, teach them the farais of ghusl. So I did. But when you give a speech, you can see who is listening. You can tell that they're paying attention. And you can tell those people that are going, playing on the phone, you could tell the difference. When I started talking about the farais of ghusl, there must have been probably 150 people there. It wasn't a huge gathering. But out of them 150 people there, I can safely say that more than 50% were going. And they were paying attention and listening. And I'm thinking, you know what? These people don't know this. And that in itself tells us something. That where is our knowledge? You know, I've said it before as well, that, you know, you service your car every year. Every 10,000 miles you service your car. Why? You get an MOT, all right, maybe you can say the MOT is because the law says, but you service your car every 10,000 miles. Why? To make sure your car is perfect. What about servicing your Quran? What about servicing your wuzu? What about servicing your namaz? What about servicing these things? This knowledge is so important to us. We need to acquire this knowledge. And not only acquire it, but maintain it. Maintain that knowledge, improve your knowledge, and we need to understand the importance of knowledge. And again, that's a lesson that you can learn from any of our pious predecessors. Any of our pious predecessors would sacrifice their time to acquire the knowledge of the deen. Not only acquire the knowledge of the deen, but then they would utilize that knowledge. They would pass on that knowledge. And every one of our pious predecessors would acquire the knowledge of the deen. Every one of our pious predecessors would act upon the knowledge of the deen, and every one of our pious predecessors would try their utmost best to pass that knowledge on as well. And if you think about it, viewers of Madani, maybe you've heard it many times before, but this is the mission statement of Dawat Islami, that I must strive to rectify myself. How? By acquiring knowledge. I must strive to rectify myself and rectify the people of the whole world. Inshallah. How? By passing on that knowledge. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that even if you know one ayat of the Quran, pass it on. Pass it on. Whatever little knowledge you may say, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know anything, what should I do? Do you know that to give salam is a sunnah? Yes, you know that. How many people don't know? The majority, I think, nearly everybody will know. So you know that. So when you see someone saying hi, hello, say to them, beta, it is sunnah to give salam. You've taught them something. We can all teach them something. We can all learn and we can all teach. We're going to go to the final package of the day, inshallah. Let's go to the final package of the day. Inshallah, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the life of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
The knowledge of Al-Ghaus al-Azam Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anh is truly admirable. Subhanallah. Allah Ta'ala blessed him, granted him knowledge of the deen. Shaykh Abdul Wahhab Sha'rani, Shaykh Abdul Hakim Hadith Dehlavi, and Allama Muhammad bin Yahya Halbi, rahmatullahi alayhi majma'in, great scholars themselves. They've all narrated regarding Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani that Allah Ta'ala blessed him with expertise in 13 various sciences. Allama Sha'rani rahmatullahi alayhi also states, he says that people would come to the madrasa, the institute, the school of Ghaus al-Azam radiallahu anh, to learn tafsir, hadith, fiqh, ilmul kalam. And he narrates that before midday and after midday, Ghaus al-Azam radiallahu anh would teach people tafsir, hadith, fiqh, ilmul kalam, usul, nahv, etc. And after dhuhr salah, he would teach qira'at, the science of qira'at to the people as well. Subhanallah, he would deliver 3 lectures in a week. The people would come and study from Al-Ghaus al-Azam radiallahu ta'ala. We too should study our deen. We should try and study as much as we can and implement that knowledge in our lives as well.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You know what happens when we come to this point in the program? I realize that there's so much I want to say, but I've only got a short amount of time. Viewers of the channel, you're watching yesterday, today and tomorrow, and today we're talking about the life of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah ta'ala. He was also asked later on in his life that what sort of things do you like? And he mentioned 2 things. He said, I like feeding people and I like good character. And again, there's a lesson there. The great reward in feeding people, the great reward in helping the poor, in feeding the people around the world. And we see in today what is happening around the world in many, many places. And we should try our best to try and help the people. And even if maybe we say that, okay, our money cannot get to certain places. But many of the people that are watching this program, you will have family members You may not have direct family. You may have distant family members. You may have, even if all of your family is rich, but they will know people. If you've got, the majority of the people that are watching this program are probably from Pakistan or an Indian subcontinent or wherever you are from the world, wherever, any of the Muslim countries around the world, you will find that there are poor people there. What are we doing to help them? To feed them, to buy them rations, to do something. There is great reward in this, in helping people. And you should do dua that, Ya Allah, those people that do not have the food that we have, do not have the shelter that we have, do not have the protection that we have, Ya Allah, give them patience, give them help from the Messina, and give us the ability to help our Muslim brothers and sisters that are not as fortunate as we are. With that saying that Ghaus Pak mentioned, he also mentioned good character. He also mentioned the importance of good character, and I think the first package that we had today mentioned the hadiths of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to good character. The character of a person is utmost important. And if you study the history of Islam, you will see that those people that came to Islam, we were in Fazana Medina in Karachi, and there they were talking about bringing people to Islam, the department of Dawah Islamic called Fazan Islam. And Alhamdulillah, there's one of the brothers there, he's the Imam of a masjid in Soweto in South Africa. And every day, on average, 2 people accept Islam there. And one, obviously, there's a yearning for people to accept Islam, but there's also the character of the person in front of you. That character of the person in front of you is utmost important. That you could be speaking the truth. You could be giving them haqq, you could be giving them everything that's perfect. But if you yourself are a liar, a cheat, a swear, a backbiting, you commit all these, and nobody's going to listen to you. Even when you are right, they won't listen to you. And I've used this example before that, I remember many years ago, I was in an office and I was trying to talk to someone who was an atheist. He did not believe in the existence of the Creator. And when I was talking to him, he said to me that, look, you buy and sell cars. I said, yes, I do. Would you ever buy a car without seeing it? And what he was basically saying was that you would never buy a car without seeing it. How do you expect me to believe in a Creator without seeing Him? And you know what? For a few seconds, I was stumped. But then I thought about it. I thought, you know what? I would buy a car without seeing it. 2 conditions. Number 1, the deal's good. And number 2, the person that's telling me about the car is an honest person. Now, we as Muslims, what are we offering people? We're offering them paradise. We're offering them the afterlife. But the problem is the salesman. The salesman, he's not honest. The salesman's not a pious person. The salesman's not honest. So why are they going to listen to us? And it's your character that reflects through. It's not your words that reflect through, it's your character that reflects you. Just even having a smile on your face. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that smiling is a sunnah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just smiling in front of people, meeting people with a smile, being kind, being gentle, inquiring about other people, looking out for other people, helping other people. And it's something that we need to look at. I firmly believe, viewers of Madani Channel, that if every Muslim lived their life the way that we should live our lives, if every Muslim tried to follow the sunnah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it should be followed, then overnight, not in minutes, overnight, the whole world would accept Islam if we follow the true teachings of Islam. And the problem is we don't. We don't. We follow cultures, we follow all sorts of things. When you look at the deen of Islam, how beautiful it is, the character of the Muslim, how beautiful it is, and how it should shine through, there are great blessings in it, but unfortunately we don't. And these are the lessons that we need to learn from our pious predecessors. And today we touched on a few instances in the life of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Rahmatullah, a great pious personality from our past. But today, in this 1-hour program, we've just mentioned a few things about his life. There are many, many booklets and books available on our website, www.dawatislami.net, in many different languages. Download them completely free of charge. Again, knowledge is so readily available. Acquire the knowledge, learn about the lives of their pious predecessors. But whenever you hear or read something about their life, don't just think of it as a story. Think to yourself, why? Why was this event recorded? Why was this event maintained? Why has this event been written in this book? It's there so that I can learn something from it. Viewers of Madani Channel, you've been watching yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Until the next time, keep watching Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
The special favor of Allah, Holy Allah. The universe is the body and its soul, Holy Allah.